Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C., the podcast where entrepreneurs, founders, and ambitious professionals come to learn from those who have walked the path, navigating challenges and achieving success. Whether it's thriving in business, pivoting, scaling for growth, fundraising, or finding work life balance, dealing with loneliness, adversity, or overcoming personal struggles. Our guests share the insights and strategies that have empowered them to level up. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm thrilled to have a truly inspiring guest with us today, Fitz Kohler. Fitz is not only a celebrated race announcer, a fitness expert, but she's also a fierce advocate for cancer awareness and the author of the powerful Cancer Comeback series. In 2019, Fitz faced a breast cancer diagnosis that would change her life. Rather than letting it define her, she transformed her struggle into a journey of resilience, ultimately emerging stronger and even more passionate about helping others. Her memoir, My Noisy Cancer Comeback, has resonated with countless readers, serving as a beacon of hope and motivation for anyone facing adversity. Today, Fitz will share her incredible journey through breast cancer, the lessons she learned along the way, and how she continues to inspire others to do hard things. Join us as we dive deep into the story of her strength, recovery, and life beyond breast cancer. Hi, Fitz. How are you today? Welcome to the show.
I'm spectacular. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a conversation with you around your breast cancer journey since we're talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month and, of course, how it's shaped your life and everything else that we do.
Sure.
So let's dive right in. Can you take us back to the moment you received your breast cancer diagnosis? What emotions and thoughts went through your mind at that time?
Yeah, so when I was officially told I had breast cancer, I already knew I had breast cancer. So
Mm,
I had a sparkling clean mammogram the last few days of December of 2018. And about 6 weeks later, I was coming out of the shower at a race weekend and I rubbed my underboob and I found a lump. It was the size of a grape. And I instantly picked up that phone and called the doctor. And so that week I had a few appointments, which led to the mammogram and then the ultrasound. And they said, yeah, this lump looks suspicious, but you also have 3 hard swollen lymph nodes we're concerned about. And I just thought, screw it, there it
mm,
goes. I am definitely dying. And I had a biopsy the next day. And when the doctor called to say, hey, you have breast cancer, I knew it. I knew it. And I really feel like the big moment for me was when the radiologist told me that my lymph nodes were already infected. And I instantly just thought, I'm dying. I had no evidence to back that up. I thought I have the perfect life. I'm the perfect beacon of health and happiness. I have the perfect family, the perfect career. I'm definitely going to make the perfect tale of tragedy. I could
mm.
see this tragic, lifetime story about the fitness pro who died in 3 months from breast cancer. And I was so scared about not seeing my children grow up. That's really more
Mm,
so than the loss of my life was going to be. It bothered me losing their lives. So yeah, I didn't like it.
yeah,
It was a hard time.
for sure. So once you got your diagnosis, can you walk us through like what type of breast cancer did you have and what was that journey? Did you have a double, single mastectomy? Did you have surgery?
Sure.
Can you tell us through that journey a little bit?
Yeah. So I was classified as stage 2B breast cancer. I was estrogen positive, HER2 positive, and one doctor says I'm progesterone positive, one says I'm
Mm,
negative. So I guess I'm on the fence on that thing. But I ended up with 21 rounds of chemotherapy over the course of
ooh,
15 months, which was a very long time to have chemo. I had
mm-hmm.
33 rounds of radiation. I had no statistical benefit to doing a full mastectomy, so I did not do that. I had a lumpectomy and they took 13 lymph nodes. It was
Wow.
all hard. All of it was hard, but I would definitely say that chemo, because I was so sick the whole time, I just was
Yeah.
violently ill for 15 months. That was the most difficult part for me, but I did it.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, 13 lymph nodes is a lot. I had 6 removed and I thought that was a lot, but 13,
It is.
that's a
6
whole
is a
other
lot.
level. Yeah.
Well,
And
you know what I find is it's not a competition. And
yeah,
so we're all getting whacked in different ways, but we're all getting
yeah.
whacked as long as we all make it out to the other side winning,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? So, like, when I got my diagnosis, I automatically was like, I'm getting a double mastectomy. That was like
Oh,
no question for me, just because I didn't, in my
mhm.
brain, I'm like, I don't want the chances of it coming back. Can I ask you, like, why you chose to do a lumpectomy?
A lumpectomy. Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
blessed with some knowledge beforehand. And so I think, golly, 20 something years ago, in one of my I'm a fitness expert. So then I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to accumulate as much information as I can. I still do. But I remember
Yeah.
going through a course on how to train breast cancer patients and how to be sensitive to their lymphedema and their tightnesses and their weakness and so forth. And I remember the doctor talking about various surgical options, but saying so many women do it without any statistical benefit. They do it because of fear, not because there's actually a benefit to that. And the other thing he told me is uh, mastectomy is not often one surgery. It's often 10 surgeries. I mean,
Yeah. I
some of
had
these women I
4.
go through years and years of suffering
Yeah.
where there is no medical benefit. They're just doing it out of fear. And so I knew that going in. And so my decision was to yield to the doctors who said there's no benefit to you. I mean, you can if you want to, but you're doing more harm than good to yourself at that
Mm-hmm.
point. And
Yeah.
then I decided, okay, well, if I have the BRCA gene or one of those similar type genes, then I'll do it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't. And so I didn't. I was blessed up front because I
Yeah.
think so many women who don't have this knowledge, they knee jerk. In fact, I know so many women, because of my book, so many people reach out to me to ask for
Yeah.
help or tell me their stories. And yeah, there's a lot of women who are going through the full mastectomy, and I don't tell them they're wrong. It's not my place to do that.
Yeah.
You did what was right for you, but perhaps if you would have known what I knew in advance, you might not have gone that route. Maybe.
Honestly, you just hit the nail on the head. I did it out of fear. I
Mhm.
didn't first my doctors didn't educate me on anything. Everything that I found out was sort of everything that I did was out of fear or the little knowledge that I had.
Yeah.
Had I known what I know now, that it would have been 4 or 5 surgeries. I'm still in the process of having surgeries and the whole reconstruction. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done it because it's just I didn't do chemo, but surgeries took a toll on my
Oh,
body and I'm just disfigured and completely scarred.
yeah.
So I do
Sorry.
think it's important to talk about that. And I love what you just said for anyone who's listening who might be going through it or in the early stages to really think about like what are your options and don't rely on your doctors. I hate to say that, but like don't rely on your doctors to educate you on the best practices and what you should do for your body. I feel like it's really up to us, number one, to advocate for ourselves, but secondly, to
Yeah.
like do the research and become our own doctors in a way.
Well, you know what I mean? It's just really unfortunate for so many people in general just don't have a lot of medical savvy. I'm blessed with
Yeah.
an adjacent career that has driven me to learn more and more
Mm-hmm.
and more. So I showed up with extra knowledge, but I would say most people don't. Fortunately, my doctors were very data driven. Any decision we made,
Mm.
my doctor, Lucio Gordon, he's also not only a great oncologist, but he's medical president of all Florida cancer specialists. So he oversees 100 cancer facilities and their doctors. And so
Wow.
he comes at me, he'd say, well, if we do this, your recurrence rate drops to 90, 1.12%. He was so precise. And our disease has been so well researched. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the good fortune, is that people got sick of losing their mothers, their daughters, their sisters, their wives, and they started fundraising. That's why breast cancer is so curable, is because people said
Yeah.
enough. And we know so much, right? And maybe they just don't know as much about pancreatic cancer. Like that's one, it scares me so badly.
Yeah.
Why more about pancreatic cancer? But anyhow, there is so much information. And if anybody's diagnosed, they should hunt down the information before making these life-altering decisions.
I agree with you. So, how did your background in fitness and health influence your approach to treatment and recovering during your journey? Were there specific strategies you relied on?
Absolutely. So one of the things I know as a fitness expert, my whole career has been based around this subject, is uh, fitness makes everything better. It can enhance every aspect of your life.
Mm.
And on any given day, I always ask folks, on any given day, would you, doing any given thing, would you rather be stronger or weaker?
Mm.
No one's ever said, you know what, Fitz, I would be better if I were weaker, right? And so strength makes you more likely to rebound and recover from anything. And even healthy, strong, fit people get sick too. I'm exhibit A of that. But sometimes healthy, strong, fit people are riding their bike in an Ironman triathlon and get hit by a car, right?
Yeah.
That person is more likely to recover quickly than, say, I don't know, an unfit person who is going for a bike ride on an e-bike, right? So
Mm.
I know that fitness matters. And so I was super fit going into breast cancer, thank goodness. And then I did what I could when I could. I had the knowledge to know that challenging myself, staying at it was going to be beneficial, but I also had the knowledge to know that rest was equally essential. And so I balanced those things. There was
Yeah.
many things I couldn't do because I was so sick. It was like living with a violent stomach bug or food poisoning every day.
Mm.
So you can't go do certain things with food poisoning, right? But I did what I could when I could. A lot of times exercise just looked like doing leg lifts in bed, right? It could have been
Right.
stretching in the shower. I did a lot of upper body strength training just sitting in a chair when I was too tired to get up. So that fitness made all the difference in the world. And I would say it was my sixth round of mean chemo I showed up for. And so I say I had 6 rounds of mean chemo. It was a Taxotere, carboplatin, Perjeta, Herceptin mix, which wreaked havoc on me. And then I had 15 rounds of Godzilla, which I nicknamed Godzilla because everyone was like, it'll be fine. It wasn't fine. But anyway, when I walked in for chemo number 6, I was pretty nervous. And, chemo number 1 is nerve wracking because of the unknown. Chemo number 6 can be nerve wracking because you know exactly what you're going to get, right? You're thinking, oh, or I was
Yeah.
thinking, here it comes again. And my doctor, he looked at me and I was in shambles. He said, you are doing so great. And I said, what? I'm so proud of you. You're doing so great. And I said, Dr. Gordon, my mom just told me I look like I was in the Holocaust. All my lashes
Oh.
are gone. I'm so sick. My
Oh.
my insides have been through a cheese grater. Why are you saying that? He said, Fitz, you have suffered, and that is true. However, if you were not so healthy and fit coming into this and committed to it while going through it, you would not have been. So I continued working. I continued traveling for race announcing and speaking. He said, you wouldn't have been able to fly all
Mm.
over the country every week like you have. He said, if you were not so healthy and fit, you likely would have been hospitalized for more than just one night. You likely would have had a feeding tube. You've been very sick, but your healthy body has made you so resilient and it's allowed to do the things that your mind told it to do. And so that was a big aha moment where I thought, oh, okay, my fitness really is paying off. When your doctor says you could have been in the hospital for weeks, I went, oh, okay. So then when I hit rock bottom, and I did, despite my efforts, I knew that baby steps were my path back. And
Mm.
I was as gentle as humanly possible. I was committed to not harming myself with exercise.
Mm.
And yeah, I rebuilt my body. I rebuilt my fitness. I ran the Boston Marathon a little over a year after finishing treatment. So if I
Wow.
could do it, everybody can do it.
That's insane. But good for you. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
very proud of it. It was, thank goodness.
You should
Thank
be.
Well, I appreciate that. You know what? It was a big turning point. I had finished surgery because that was after the mean chemo and so forth. And I got back into the gym and I was starting to lift and I realized how much strength I had lost. But I instantly thought, well, I know how to get it back.
Hmm.
I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, yeesh, I was a little skeleton, but I knew how to get it
Yeah.
back. And it was at that point I thought, I know how to get it back because lucky me, I'm a fitness expert. But what
Yeah.
about the millions and millions of cancer patients out there across the world being brutalized by all different sorts of cancers, and they have no idea how to rebuild their body or how to hang on to any bit of strength and stamina and flexibility that they have? And so
Mm.
that's where my books were born. I thought, okay, I'm going to use my expertise and now my experience to help everybody else. And that's been one of the great blessings of cancer for me, is being able to help so many people
Hmm.
rebound and recover from their ordeal.
You talk about orchestrating your own health, cancer comeback. What what did that journey look like for you, and what lessons did you learn about resilience and strength along the way?
Well, I'll start with the resilience thing. That's up here. Those are decisions we made, and I made some damn good ones from the start.
Mm,
Number one, I chose perspective. So was I scared? Absolutely. Was I stressed? You betcha. But a few miles down the road from my house here in Gainesville, Florida, is the University of Florida Health Center, which has a pediatric oncology unit. And so I would think about those babies getting treated for
mm,
whatever cancer they have, or those children. And I would consider how fortunate I am to be an adult with cancer, and how fortunate it wasn't my kid with cancer. And because of those
mm,
things, I figured that I would put on my big girl panties and I would get through it. Right. So perspective,
yeah.
number one, someone always has it worse. If you think about it today, you can think of 20 people who have it way worse than you do, even with breast cancer. So that went a long way. I also chose my passions. No matter what was going to happen, I decided I was not letting cancer steal time with my kids or my career. And so, of course, my career requires endless travel and all of this stuff. I interact with, sometimes it's me versus 20,000 people in my audiences, which I love. And I
Mm-hmm.
continued on. I boarded 30 planes out of Gainesville, Florida. And so many people would say, well, that's insane. And you could get germs. Well, trust me, I hugged thousands of sweaty strangers and I was just fine. But what I found is pursuing my passions really took me out of the cancer doldrums, because I'd get on those planes and it was miserable. Trust me, getting on a 5-hour flight across the country with feeling so sick was bad. But I'd
Yeah.
get there, sleep on the hotel bathroom floor, I'd get up, get dressed, and the second I stepped on my stage, every single thing that was wrong with me disappeared. I wasn't
Mm,
sick, I wasn't suffering, I wasn't tired, I was just full force Fitz Kohler. I got to do the thing that I do, be the person that I was, even with my bald head on display. It was me, so happy to be doing the thing that I do, and I fed off of
mm,
those people that they were either my runners or my audience. And so that's the miracle of pursuing your passions. And everybody should. If you get diagnosed, this is not the point to be isolated. The only people we should be isolating are prisoners, right? Or
mm,
if you've got some wildly contagious disease or illness that's going to hurt other people.
yeah.
If you just have cancer, get out and live your life. Do the things that fuel you. Definitely get exercise to whatever extent you can, but go be there when your kid plays football or soccer. My daughter cheered every week, and it just filled my heart with so much joy. And so that was the mental game. It was perspective and passions. And then on the physical side, it was being committed to fitness while also having mercy for the situation I was in. I
Mm,
never thought, well, you're bad because you can't run a half marathon. Oh my gosh. I was so great for walking to the mailbox. Right. And so I did the littlest things that I could, and baby steps in all four pillars of fitness. And that's something I want everybody to know, is fitness is not just walking, and it's certainly
mm,
not just strength training. Fitness requires it requires sufficiency in four areas of fitness. It's strength, which you can lose a lot of muscle mass with chemo and surgery, taking time off. And if you're not strong, you're more susceptible to injury, right? So strength is the fountain of youth. Strength is resiliency. Cardiovascular respiratory endurance, that's your stamina. When we start to feel tired, that's because it's waned. Getting it
mm,
back will make you a more energetic, vibrant person. Third, flexibility. It's your ability to reach and rotate your joints through their full range of motion. And if you are not flexible, you are more likely to endure strains, sprains, and tears. And so the way to stay injury free is to stay flexible. And reality is, nobody ever says, hey, my back is stiff. It means it in a good
mm,
way. So
mhm.
mobility just feels good. And last but not least is balance. And balance becomes balance is always important, because falling down sucks, right? If you're a grown up and you hit the ground,
Yeah.
you think, oh my gosh, how did I do this so often when I was a kid, and bounce back up? So falling down is a bad thing. But once they start pumping you full of chemo and you have these drugs and you start getting weaker and you've had surgery, well, if your balance isn't good, you are susceptible to fall down. And what's worse than cancer and a broken hip, or
Oh my
cancer and
God.
a concussion? So these areas of fitness all matter.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you said. I think the one thing that I learned about my experience was just to be kind to myself. I had to remind myself to be
Yeah.
kind to myself because
Yeah.
like there was only so much I could do. And like you, I was fortunate. I didn't do chemo. I went the surgery route, which was probably a mistake,
I
but
don't know if that's
that's what I
fortunate. I
chose
don't
to
know if that's
do.
fortunate.
I
Yeah.
know it's not, but I chose to continue working during that time as well. And I found that, and I realized not all women can do that, but
Right.
there is something about continuing, being able to continue to work. It gave me purpose. It gave
Yeah.
me something to wake up to and look forward
Yeah.
to. And my life wasn't consumed by breast cancer. I mean, it was always in the back of my mind. The
Right.
minute I would stop working, that's what I thought about. I mean, 7 years later, I still think about breast cancer all the
Yeah.
time, but it was such a good distraction that I always tell women, like, if you can, even if just a little, like, continue to do work or continue working because it's a good distraction from that everyday battle, right?
Well, you are so right. And it's funny because I talk about work that I'm passionate about. The reality is I also had bills to pay and kids to feed,
Yeah.
and we have to work. So many of us, we have to work. And I love the fact that I love my work, but I would have had to work, right? So
Yeah.
there's that, there's money. And then, okay, let's say you don't want to work. Fine, play your guitar, do
Yeah.
crochet, garden, do whatever. I mean, whatever it is that makes you happy, do that thing. This is not the time for you to give up your hobbies. That's for certain. It's you lean into your hobbies, lean into your friends, lean into everything good that you can grab onto.
And it's good for your mental health while you're going through this. It
Absolutely.
literally,
Yeah.
like the way you just explained your journey, what I was thinking about, like I was actually saying, like, this is why people call it a battle, right? Because we're literally
Yeah.
battling for our lives, and you're going through all these rounds of chemo. Like that's a battle that you went through. That's hard work,
Yeah. Yeah.
mentally and physically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I had so many failures as a kid. I got cut from a lot of teams, and I don't know. I mean, being a kid just is hard, right? And there's been
Mm,
so many times early in my career where people told me no or broke my heart, and I used to cry, and my mom would say, "Well, you're building character." And at some point I would say, "Okay, I'm enough of a character. I don't need any more. Thanks, mom." But really, all of those previous failures, all of those previous hardships and heartbreaks, those are the things that steeled me. They prepared me
mm,
for cancer. And I'm so grateful for them. And you know, oddly, cancer steeled me up. I mean, golly, nothing scares me anymore. I mean, you know what? Something negative happening to my children scares me. That's
yeah.
terrifying. But I'm just so effing gung ho about life in general. And I just swam with whale sharks. I've been taking, I mean, someone invited me to run the Boston Marathon. I had never run a full marathon before. And my only thought in my head was, well, can't be any harder than cancer. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
for anyone who's listening, running a marathon is a joke compared to what we endure with cancer. Running a
Yeah.
marathon is a piece of cake, something you can do in your sleep compared to chemo and mastectomy and radiation. So, bring it, world. Let's go. Chemo has made me
Yeah.
so much more aggressive with life in general, or cancer has, because, now I've been there, done that. Try to
Yeah.
hurt me.
I love what you just said, and I just had a conversation with another lady the other day, and it was so funny because we were like, well, we're not thankful for breast cancer,
Right.
but our lives are so different now
Yeah.
because of that experience that it's almost like you can't go back in time and say, I wish I didn't get it, because like, would you be where you are?
So I will tell you that if I could go back and undo the cancer switch, definitely go back. I have made such big lemonade from this deal.
Yeah,
But I would go back and definitely undo it. It was awful. It was awful. I wouldn't do that to myself. However, I can't. I can't undo
yeah,
it. So here I am. Am I a better person post cancer? I am.
yeah.
There's a lot that I've gained from it. I'm dinged up physically. There are some limitations that I have, or some irritations,
Hmm.
but I'm I'm gonna take the lessons and make good use of them.
Yeah, I love that. So before we wrap up, there is something that I want to talk about that I just personally feel it's not really talked about that much in the whole breast cancer or the cancer community. And it's the post-cancer journey. So, we go through this battle, our bodies are tortured and modified, and then we get a breast cancer free diagnosis, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, do I just like go back to my regular life now? But I don't feel the same. Like for me, my biggest struggle was life post breast cancer. I felt really lost. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I actually like started getting depressed after I got a clean bill of health, and I struggle. Like I really struggle. But then I found community, and I started giving back to the breast cancer community, and that gave me some fulfillment. But for a while there, I really struggled. And I have all these conversations with women that are like, yeah, there isn't enough conversations about it. So I just wanted to get your perspective. What was it like for you once you got that clean bill of health? Did you just go back to your normal life, or did you have to alter, or is your mindset still different?
So there's a couple of things. I mean, that's a big bag of stuff you just unpack there, those
Yeah.
questions. So one of my great gifts is the fact that I was doing what I love to do before cancer. So sometimes people hit this fork in the road of illness and injury, and they think, oh, life is short. I shouldn't be doing the thing. I got to do the other thing. For
Mm,
me, the thing that I had already been doing was my saving grace, right? It was my outlet. It was miraculous for me. And so I doubled down. I leaned in harder to my career and my kids post cancer. So that was very clear, and that was spelled out for me, which was wonderful. It's been interesting physically because people will say, I travel the country, so sometimes people haven't seen me since I last showed up bald and gray, and even though they've seen me online, they see I'm healthy and posting good stuff, whatever, but they'll see me and they'll go, "Are you okay?" I say, "Okay." And
mm-hmm,
then they go, "No, really, are you okay?" Yes, and what I want to say is I'm 100%, but I'm
mm-hmm,
not 100%, right? I've got this real weakness on this side, and if I can't sleep on the left side, and if I do, then my neck hurts and it pinches, and my left arm is weaker than my right, and I can't feel anything between my armpit and my
mm-hmm.
elbow on the left side. So there's some weirdness going on. So yeah, I've been trying my Crux has been trying to gain weight. I mean, nobody likes this problem, right? Most people actually gain weight during treatment. I was the one who just lost. I became emaciated. I went
Mm.
from 125 to about 110,
Wow.
and I made it to 118, and then I lost a few. My stomach is not what it used to be, so I can only handle a
Mm.
certain amount of food, and so I'm constantly fighting that uphill battle not to be scrawny, not to be weak. And of course, I have in the back of my head, if I get diagnosed again and I'm only 115 at the start, am I going to be that 95-pound person? Nobody, that's scary.
Oof.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So, those are things that are there. And I don't really normally talk to most people about them because I'm the one, much like everybody, I don't like to make my problems theirs. But I
Yeah.
think that's why I wrote 3 books. I wrote my Noisy Cancer Comeback. That's the memoir. And for there, I go into a lot of stuff nobody talks about because I've once I finished my book, I started reading other people's books, some of the celebrity
Mm-hmm.
books. They don't go into any detail at all. One actually says, like, I had a mastectomy and then we went to the Hamptons. And I was like, well, what? You went to the Hamptons?
After the
Okay, well, why don't you
mastectomy?
tell people about your drains and your bruising and the stuff, right? And so my memoir is loaded with all the gory details that most cancer patients say, "Oh my God, thank you for talking about it." Nobody's ever mentioned that. But really, Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, that's the guidebook, and that's the one that makes me find purpose in my cancer. I don't think everything happens for a reason. I don't think God chose me and pointed a seed of doom in my boob. But I do think my life is better that I get to help other cancer
Yeah.
patients get through their disease and recover more effectively. So those books are the things that make the cancer aftermath much better for me. Oh, and can I tell you about this? Because I'm really excited.
Yes,
I'll be quick.
please.
So one of the things I have decided to do is to replace each miserable round of chemo, all 21 of them, with adventure. And
Okay.
yeah, because you get this yin and yang. You had something really bad. I think you should replace it with something really good. And I've just launched this on fitzness.com. So I hope everyone out there with cancer will go. It's FITZNESS.com. But I've already replaced the first 5 rounds of chemo with adventure. And my top 3 in those, my favorites, was, of course, running the Boston Marathon. That was a biggie. And this year I competed on a Dancing with the Stars competition, not the one on television, but it was in front of a mass audience and it was live streamed. It was huge. And I learned the jive, and I danced with a professional partner for 4 months. It was incredible. And it was one of the greatest nights of my whole life. And then just a few weeks ago, I went to the Georgia Aquarium and I fulfilled a lifelong dream of swimming with whale sharks.
Wow.
And so I have 16 more rounds of adventure to go, at least to wipe away chemo. And if I'm still up for it, I might wipe away all 33 rounds of radiation too. But that's where I want people to go with this. We can't undo the fact that we've had cancer, but can we make our life better because of it? Can we just turn that frown upside down, turn the lemons into lemonade, whatever? But yeah, if you've had 5 rounds of chemo or radio, whatever you want to do, 5 rounds, 50 rounds, join me, and let's turn cancer crushing into a new, cool, hip, exciting thing that everyone, once they get diagnosed, they instantly start thinking about the future and instantly start thinking about the good things on their horizon. So join me on my 21 round challenge.
I love it. I'm going to put the link to everything when this episode goes live. I love it. That's great. I mean, I love talking to women that have turned, lemons into lemonade and are embracing life. And it's hard not to after you go through an experience like that. And just really quick, you mentioned your book, the Noisy Cancer Comeback. By the way, I started reading it. I haven't finished it because you and I booked this meeting, but I love how you like you said, you talk about the stuff that no one else talks about. I remember the other day, a girl that I had gone to high school with actually reached out to me, and she had found a lump and she was doing a biopsy, and she was scared, and she was like, do you mind if I ask you some questions? And I'm like, sure. And she's asking me questions, and I'm like, why hasn't your doctor like walked you through this? And then I remember another lady reached out to me, and she was going to have one mastectomy. And she was like, I don't know what to expect. So, okay, I'm like, I walked her through. I'm like, you're going to have drains. So you might want to get like a special. She's like, what do you mean drains? What's that? And I'm like, oh my goodness, like there's all this stuff that nobody talks about. And I love that you're putting that in your book, and you're talking about all the stuff, the drains, all the ugliness that women need to know about, right?
And the funniness too, because there's so many funny things. I mean, the amount of people who, I'm guessing your podcast is audio too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So folks, if you're not watching us right now, I am Irish white. I got blue eyes, blonde hair. And I never wore a wig. I was just, take it or leave it. I don't care. So sometimes people will come up and say, you look like Sinead O'Connor. Okay, that makes sense. Fine. And then often they'd say, you look like Grace Jones. Really? I don't look like that. Okay. And then the best one that I got all the time, and I tell you, I probably got it 300 times. You look like crazy Britney Spears.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, okay. And it always came with crazy Britney Spears. And I thought, well, that's hilarious. So there were some really funny things that went out. I mean, you get diagnosed, you start living in the twilight zone, your life gets thrown in spin cycle. And then they say that sometimes you laugh so hard you cry. I found that sometimes you cry so much that you start to laugh. And it's that stuff that really stuck with my family. We are very sarcastic as a unit. All 4 Kohlers are very sarcastic. And so we just went with it, and it made our days brighter. And I had a nickname for every drug and every situation. And, it made us laugh a lot. So those are important. And can I mention one more thing? Because I know you're going to have a lot of breast cancer
my goodness. No, of course.
Listening to this is the other great blessing since this is I announced so many wonderful races for breast cancer. So number 1 being the Donna National Marathon to Finish Breast Cancer. It's the only marathon in the country dedicated to breast cancer, founded by a woman who's had breast cancer 3 times, Donna Deegan, who's now the mayor of Jacksonville. She's just a really cool lady. But we have hundreds and hundreds of women who come out who have had breast cancer, or some of them still have breast cancer while they're participating in race weekend. We have a 1 mile and a 5K in and out of Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium. And then on Sunday, we have a half marathon and a full marathon. We actually have a 110-mile ultra, but we have breast cancer crushers coming out the yin yang, and it is a love fest. And so if you come, know that you will connect with some fabulous women and men who've had breast cancer. And I am committed to making a royal stink out of every survivor that crosses that finish line. So that's a real special place. And we have cancer crushers that come in from all over the country to be a part of the Donna. I do Mud Girl events, and their cause is breast cancer. They donate it to various breast cancer foundations. And then, of course, Making Strides for Breast Cancer with American Cancer Society. Fitness can help you reach remission. It can help you prevent recurrence. It's a really necessary part of being healthy. And so whether you're walking or running, we don't care. I would love for your listeners to get involved. Certainly come participate in any of the events I host, and I will treat you like the queen that you are. But yeah, that's a really good community to get involved in. And I'm blessed to be a part of it. And when I'm with all of these women and men who've had breast cancer, I forget that I've had it too. It's wonderful to take care of them.
And just to your point, community is really important, especially being around women who have been there, who can relate to you a little bit. I found that really comforting, just being around other cancer survivors and sharing stories and battle stories is what we call it. Like it's very different than just hanging out with your girlfriends.
Yeah. And it's also very different than just hanging out online. I mean, sometimes if you're part of a Facebook group, it could get darn right scary watching some of the misery inflicted over there. But if you come out to a walking or running event, it's a lot more celebratory, a lot more uplifting. I think it's the kind of connection that really makes us better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Fitz, thank you so much for joining me today. I love your journey. Thank you for being vulnerable and willing to share everything that you talked about today. I think everyone who's listening, whether they've gone through it or are going through it, can take away something from it that's positive. And really, that's what I'm trying to do with this month being Breast Cancer Awareness, not just talking about the bad, but talking about the bad and the good and things you can do and things, how you can overcome just mental health, physical. So this conversation was amazing. And I thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. And I'd love to connect with any of your listeners. It makes me happy to do so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I want to extend a huge thank you to Fitz for sharing her incredible journey and insights with us. Her story is a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience we all have within us, especially during challenging times. As we wrap up this episode, I encourage everyone to take Fitz's message to heart. You can overcome obstacles, embrace your journey, and come out stronger on the other side. Whether you're facing breast cancer or any other life challenge, remember that you were not alone. If you found this conversation inspiring, please share it with others who might benefit from Fitz's story. And don't forget to check out her books and follow her work and stay connected with her mission of empowerment and health. And that's a wrap. To our listeners, thank you for joining me on this journey of learning, growth, and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform and connect with our community on social media. I'd love to hear your feedback, so leave a review and let me know what topics you'd want to explore in future episodes. Remember, the future belongs to those who embrace challenges, adapt with tenacity, and keep pushing forward. Keep growing, keep pivoting, and most importantly, stay tenacious in your pursuits. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more insightful conversations in our upcoming episodes. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.